Many of us, after watching The Walking Dead on TV, have wondered, could I survive that? Could I really do it? What would be the safest country to be in? And should I go there? 6 years ago, the Zombie Research Society selected the top 10 countries to survive in. Things have changed over the years, so I'm going to review the same countries in the same order. You decide if the ranking should change, and let me know who you think should be in the top 3. Number 10, Sweden. Sweden has a relatively small population, and natural defenses make it a desirable place to be in a zombie outbreak or apocalypse. Considering that Sweden is the 9th largest arms exporter in the world, if a zombie apocalypse were to happen, there would be no shortage of guns to be had there. Sweden has a large number of forests and agricultural regions for its size. Sweden also exports iron ore, which could be used in forging to create weapons such as swords and spears. Another possibility would be to use the ore to make steel and build barricades around the cities and towns to help protect the people. Number 9. Argentina. Argentina is the 8th largest country in the world by landmass and surrounded by natural defenses of the Atlantic Ocean and the Andes Mountains, giving the country a good possibility of surviving. However, it has a serious flaw in its governmental system. It's only been relatively stable since 2003. Each province in Argentina is fully autonomous, meaning they enact their own constitutions. This could mean that during a zombie outbreak or a full-blown zombie apocalypse, each province would handle it the way they see fit. There would be absolutely no uniform response. In Argentina's favor, its food production. It is a major supplier of soybeans, maize, sunflower seeds, and pears. They also produce wheat, sugarcane, and grapefruit. They are also the 4th largest exporter of beef. Survivors would be able to eat well. However, only 7% of the civilians actually own guns. They might find it a little difficult to protect themselves while setting up for survival. Number 8. Finland. Finland has a population of 5.6 million people. Its land mainly consists of a boreal forest and 180,000 lakes. Only 2.7% of its economy is based on agriculture. However, most of their diet is meat, fish, and vegetables. The country, Finland, does export steel and has shipbuilding yards. 32% of Finns own firearms, which would help ensure the survival of a small percentage of people. Survival may best be in the forest using timber and steel for housing inside a timber wall. Number 7. Norway. Norway has a population of 5.4 million people. It is the largest producer of oil and gas outside of the Middle East. This was the home of the Vikings, warriors and survivors. Many of its people still practice building traditional Viking boats. Archery and axes are still popular there. The main animals are moose and bear. 28% of its civilians owns guns. If the zombie apocalypse were to happen, I could see many people there not only surviving, but going back to traditional ways and actually thriving. Number 6. Bolivia. Surrounded by mountains for protection and having the worst economy in South America, Bolivians are used to being without the modern conveniences of life, but still have managed to survive the harshness of their situation. With a population of 12 million people, a lot of which mine for silver, tin, and gold. However, only 2% of its civilians actually own guns. It's hard to say what the survival rate would be given the circumstances of these people. However, I have to give them a plus for being able to survive the harsh lifestyle that they're forced to endure. Number 5. Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is a landlocked country with a population of only 19 million people and one of the lowest population densities in the world, with fewer than 6 people per square kilometer. The main staple of foods produced in Kazakhstan are grains, potatoes, vegetables, and livestock. Only 2.8% of civilians own firearms. Hopefully that's going to be enough to save a few people there. Number 4. Russia. A land of harsh environment. Only 13% of its land is used for agriculture. With a population of 143 million people, it still has a low population density due to the large amount of land, 6.6 million square miles owned by this country. It has a large military presence and is one of the few nuclear powers in the world. During the history of this country, invasion has been almost impossible due to the large distance between city and the inhospitable winters. Russia is the second largest exporter of weapons in the world and manufactures its own military equipment. 12.3% of its civilians own guns. Between the climate, terrain, and weapons available in Russia, a zombie apocalypse would be difficult to bring down this country, but not impossible. One of the downsides would be the nuclear power plants and nuclear waste disposal plants. During a zombie apocalypse, nuclear waste disposal plants would melt down, spreading low-level radiation for miles, which would take several years to dissipate. This would definitely affect plant and food life and production in the areas where these nuclear waste plants were located. Number 3. The United States. With over 333 million people, it is one of the most populous countries in the world. Approximately 120% of the people own firearms. This basically means that a lot of people in the United States own more than one firearm. The United States has a large agricultural base and is home to several large gun manufacturers. Even though it is heavily populated, its largely armed civilian population makes it easy for people to fight back a zombie apocalypse. Should the zombie apocalypse break out in the U.S., it might just well be contained simply by civilian action. However, like Russia, the U.S. is a large and capable nuclear power as well. Its nuclear waste plants would be in the same situation as Russia's if a full-blown apocalypse were to hit. Number 2. Canada. Most of Canada's population is in the lower third of the country. With a population of 39 million people and a population density of 4.2 people per square mile, Canada has the most freshwater lakes than any other country in the world. Canada is also known for its peacekeeping efforts around the world and its ties to England, France, and of course to the U.S., whom it shares the largest undefended border with. Canada has a large agricultural community and produces a lot of food. Approximately 34.7% of the population owns firearms. However, as of late, the government has been trying to ban most pistols and now hunting rifles. Should this ban go through, Canadians will have a very difficult time fighting off a zombie apocalypse and would be better off if its population migrated to its northern and colder areas where zombies could not follow. Canada also has a large indigenous people population who live in the northern regions. Should people migrate there and learn from these people, zombie survival would be much easier. Number 1. Australia. Australia is a large continent and country surrounded on all sides by ocean. It is because of this that should a zombie apocalypse happen, Australia would only need to close off travel by ship and plane to close its borders and stay unaffected. Most of the population is centered around the coastline of this country, as most of the interior is difficult to survive in, but not impossible. Only 14.5% of Australian citizens have firearms. Should Australia be ground zero for the zombie apocalypse, there is a good chance it would spread to the rest of the world, while city by city falls along the coast. However, there would be ample time for cities on the other side of the country to prepare defenses for when it reached them. Due to the vast distances zombies would have to walk to get there. Please leave a comment below to let me know if you believe the order of survivability should remain the same or if you think the ranking should be different.